In this video, I'm going to talk about your anger. And by your anger, I mean our anger. People say that we tabletop wargamers can sometimes be a bit of an angry bunch. And Lord knows I've seen it when I've gone to tournaments, when I've gone to conventions, when I've gone to my local game shop, sometimes when I've looked in the mirror. Some people will just say, well, you know, I'm just angry because I'm having a bad game. But you do have to understand that one of the words in that sentence is game, right? Games are supposed to be fun. Now, I could see if you're at a tournament that's got big prizes, maybe, then I could see why you might be angry about something like that. But I see people getting angry, and I have myself personally gotten angry when losing a game at a local shop versus, you know, just a regular person, just a pickup game, another shop goer. And you have to ask yourself, why does this game sometimes make us so angry? Now, there are a lot of reasons that people will get angry sometimes when playing a game. Sometimes your dice just hate you. They just absolutely, and we've all had this, your dice hate you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Sometimes it will seem as if your dice are getting better, and then the last second, all of a sudden, boom, they strike again. And, you know, really when you need them to not do that. Like, I need to roll anything but a 1. How many times have we said, I need to roll anything but a 1? And then, you know, 1 or 1s, depending on what you're rolling and what kind of game you're playing. But there's nothing we can do about the dice thing. So why do we get so angry about it? It's because I think we become expectant. We know what the odds are. And we figure, well, I should be able to at least roll a 3 on a 6-sider, at least once out of these 5 dice. And when you don't, it's really, really, really disappointing. Another reason why we get really angry sometimes, and I find this especially when it's a game that I'm obviously newer at, is when you forget stuff. I'm getting older. We all are, but I'm, ahead of a lot of you. And the fact of the matter is that my memory is garbage. So there's times when I'm playing a game and it's 3 turns in and I realize for the last 2 turns I could have been doing this with this guy because it's right there on the sheet. It's a rule. I find it with Age of Sigmar a lot. You have those war scrolls that have all this information and they're great, but there's times when I'm just like, those Blight Kings could have been doing that thing at the hero phase the last 2 turns, but I always forget that they do it, and so then therefore I don't get to do it, and that's a real problem. And that also makes us angry because at that point we're angry with ourselves and our own, memories failing or otherwise. And, that reminds you of, mortality and stuff, and nobody likes to think about that. We like to think of ourselves as strategists, and strategists make plans. There's a old proverb about, men make plans and God laughs. And that happens pretty much all the time when we're on the tabletop. You have an idea of how your army is going to work. You've figured out the synergies and things are going well, and you think this is going to be a great list, and then you go out there and then everything just goes pear-shaped. This happens in pretty much any kind of game. It's not just strategy games like, war games. It could be going on in card games. In those CCGs, you have a combo that you just want to get off and it doesn't happen. So there's a lot of different times when that kind of stuff can come up and get you really angry and get you riled up. And, that happens because, again, when you make a plan and you take it to the enemy, that's when it goes all awry. Related to that, sometimes you think to yourself, well, my opponent tricked me. Now, the question is, did they trick you or did they just outthink you? And there's a lot of different options in that situation. But the fact of the matter is that we get mad when we get, I don't want to say duped because that's the wrong word, but you feel that way. You feel like you got duped. But the fact of the matter is that just your opponent outplayed you. They knew the rules better than you did. They understood strategy, particularly in this particular situation, better than you did. And so, we feel bad about the fact that we just got one pulled over on us sometimes. And that is another thing that happens again in strategy games. All these things that I'm bringing up, they happen in war games. They happen. The dice, if there's dice in it, sometimes the dice will go wrong. If there's other people to play against, sometimes they'll be smarter than us. If there's a whole bunch of rules to remember, sometimes we'll forget them. All of these things are things that are inherent to wargaming. So, what's the result? There are a lot of different options. I've seen them all. I've probably done a bunch of them myself. One of the big ones that I find is I have a tendency to give up and kind of be a little snarky about it. Let me know if you've ever said this before. well, this will be a short game. You get some sort of die roll, you get something that goes poorly, you misplan, you misunderstand, and then all of a sudden you're looking at yourself and you're like, well, I just lost 3 units in 1 turn. And when you do that, a lot of people have a tendency, their anger takes hold of them and it gets them to shut down. And they just start to like, well, it's over now. It's done. How many times have you been in a tournament and you've seen someone who's lost their first game and then just picked up and left? Like, is it a situation where they're thinking to themselves, well, I've already lost the first game. There's no way possible I can win the entire tournament, so I guess I'll just leave. I guess that's an option, but you also miss out on playing a bunch of other games, meeting new people, learning stuff, all that kind of stuff. But there are people out there that do that, and there are people out there that do it because they're very angry. Sometimes they're doing it because they don't want to make a scene, because they're going to be very angry later on. And, I guess that's better to take off and leave than it is, to the opposite. But for those of us who aren't that explosive in our anger, we still sometimes will just shut down and just be like, well, it's over, it's done. But here's a question. How frequently have you been wrong? I have said that before. Oh, well, this is going to be a short game. And then I have come back and won those games. Honestly, surprising both of us. So understand that just because your anger says, well, this is the case, and it's over already, turn 2, it's already over, you may not be right. Another thing that we happen to do when we start to get angry is, and this is, I think, the worst thing we can do, is we basically not only ruin our own fun, but we also ruin the fun for our opponent. Nobody likes to have an opponent who's kind of whining about the fact that they're being beat and that they're, it's not fair, my dice aren't working and all that kind of stuff. Nobody wants to play against that. So generally when you do that, you're not only, obviously you're angry, and I get that, but you're also really doing your opponent a disservice by kind of ruining their game as well. And we don't want to be like that. We don't want to be the person we don't want to be that guy where you're like, oh, yeah, don't play against him unless you want to lose. If you lose, it's fine. But if he starts to lose, no, it's not going to work out. You're not going to be having a good time. So that's one of the big issues with getting angry and letting it really affect our play and our mood and all that kind of stuff just because you're losing a game. So how can we fix the problem? Well, there's a lot of different ways, I think. One of the big things that's helped me out is to just realize that it's a game and that I should be having fun during the game. Whether I'm winning or losing, I've got a painted army, I've got someone who I'm either a friend of or someone who I've just met or something like that, so I can learn things about this person. It's an activity. This is a hobby. Hobbies shouldn't make you too sad. If they do, maybe they're not a good hobby fit for you. You know what I mean? If you get really super angry about something that happens in a game, maybe you're just placing that anger someplace else. The game, when it should be directed at maybe something else. I'm not a psychologist. I'm just saying maybe that's a problem, But the fact is that you just have to keep reminding yourself, I'm playing a game. I should be having a good time. I should be enjoying myself. I may lose the game. I will not go to jail for that. Probably. I will not lose my house for that. Don't bet your house on anything ever. So if you follow that piece of advice, then you won't lose your house. So don't do that. But the fact of the matter is that games are fun. They're supposed to be fun. If you're not having fun, you should not do that game. You should try something else. Just understanding and remembering and keeping yourself present, hopefully, in most people's situations, will keep them calm and understand. Sometimes the dice don't work well for you. Sometimes you forget rules. Sometimes you get outsmarted by your opponent. And then the idea is that you learn from that. You need to understand that you don't want to add more stress into your life. Many of us have stressful lives at work, with family, with just things going on out in the world. And the gaming aspect of it is supposed to be an escape. It's supposed to be something you do for enjoyment. So just try to remember that next time you feel yourself starting to get mad because the dice aren't going my way, or there's something. It's a game. You should be having fun. If you're just going to get completely swamped out and beat, and it's just known, You may be wrong. Like I said, sometimes you think you've lost, but you might win. Secondly, you could also just go, well, I'm going to lose the game, but I'm going to make sure how to take out your HQ unit or whatever. You set yourself a goal and you try to hit that thing. Maybe you're not going to win the game, but you might be able to take out that guy or kill that one tank or whatever. Those little things can help. And I want to know, what kind of things do you guys have that can help? What do you find helps you when you start to get angry during a game? Put it in the comments below. And then if you're a person who sometimes gets angry in the game, if this didn't help, if my video didn't, maybe there's something in the comments that'll help you out. But remember, it's a hobby. We're having fun. We're supposed to be having fun. And you shouldn't let anger just overtake your enjoyment of your hobby.